I'm Jaya Papaya, and welcome back to Webtoon Wednesdays. Now, today's episode, despite only being the second one, is going to be a little bit different. Little is a lie. I don't know why I'm lying to you. Basically, I got a midterm to procrastinate for. I know good and well I'm not going to do a single thing later this evening, but I'm still letting it panic me anyway. So this episode is going to be a fat rant about one of my favorite webtoons of all time. Like, you thought I loved love. I do love love. But like this series, the words aren't there. Rent free, 25/8, always on my mind. I adore every second of it. I adore every crumb of it. Haha, boom, look at that, top tier comedy. I need to sleep. But yeah, we're talking about crumbs today. Alright, let's get into the basics. What is Crumbs? Well, Crumbs is the story of Ray. Ray lives in a world filled with magic, where everyone has a different type of ability. Her ability is that she is a seer. She's a very special type of seer, and I will not specify because that's kind of a spoiler. Oh, look at me go. Those are a whole combo of S's. Totally unintentional. But basically, Ray is going about her life. She is aiming for, I believe, her internship at first at the council, where she could put her seer abilities to use. However, in the meantime, she goes to a cafe run by a woman named Marigold and her nephew, who helps out, and she goes there and she always orders the exact same thing, which is romance. And so over time, she begins to get to know other characters. She gets to start meeting the second main character, Lori, and of course they fall in love, and it's the most wholesome thing in the world. But I'm not here to talk about the romance necessarily. My favorite thing about Crumb is that it's the most realistic romance, or one of the most realistic romances in the entire Webtoon platform, in my opinion, which makes it so much more fascinating because the entire world around them is completely fantasy, and I just think that is brilliant. Alright, so to more accurately reflect my point as to why Crumbs uses the juxtaposition tool so brilliantly, we're gonna dabble into spoiler territory, so please do yourself a favor, whip open Webtoon and just read Crumb. It's finished, you can power through it. It's great, the art is a blessing on your eyes, you'll have fun regardless, and just come back when you're finished and then thank me later. It's coming in 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's get into it. So Ray's ability as a seer is that she can't see the future like other seers, she can only see the present. And this is already kind of interesting because it's like, oh, there are mutations of magic? Interesting. What does this mean for her as a person? Because Ray never really advertises her seer abilities. In fact, she tries to hide them, and for a good portion of like the beginning of the series. But it becomes even better when she starts dating Lori. And if Lori is striving to become a musician, however, Lori kind of has a bit of a, toxic positivity complex, in the sense that he has to make everyone around him feel ultra good, to the point where it's really jarring to everyone else around him. But that's his way of kind of protecting himself from opening up about his own issues and acknowledging his own failures, which is, again, a very wonderful interpretation of real life self-esteem issues and what it's like to become an aspiring artist, because it's not easy in any industry. But I digress. What happens in the series that I absolutely adore is that Ray begins to worry about Lori because she knows Lori's hiding something, but she doesn't know what. This would be a perfect opportunity for her to use her seer vision to see what he's doing. But at the same time, that opens up the discussion of that. Is that a breach of privacy? Are you allowed to look into what your significant other's doing if they really don't want you to know about it when they have told you? Is it like really gross for you to use magic to kind of invade on a person when they don't know that's what you're doing? Like the whole cell phone argument, like, oh, can my girlfriend really look through my phone? That sort of thing, which I thought was also really good because that's a very common storyline between couples. But Witherling really craftily adapted it into a fantasy setting with Ray's powers, and I think that was just, I could go on about this for so long, but I don't have time. Anyway, that causes a whole argument to the point where Ray gives Lori a stone, blocking her seer vision, hey, you keep this on you, I won't be able to see what you're doing. And so of course Lori's like, I don't need this, I trust you, babe. But throughout the series, you see him put the stone in his pocket, and he's always kind of like, but I don't want her to know that I'm not doing the best. And he lies to Ray a couple times, oh yeah, my audition went great, it was so good, I got a gig next week. But he's still struggling. And so having like those elements of fantasy incorporated with very realistic issues and trust issues between a couple was just, it was so cool to see. And I wish I could have appreciated it sooner, because like I want to say I was like halfway through season 2 by the time like I really understood what was happening. And then I was like, oh my god, that's genius. This is some 200 IQ level plays right here. But I'm not done yet. Another great incorporation of fantasy to realism in the series is the opposition of their careers. Ray wants to work for the council. However, the caveat of working for the council is that you have your memories erased the moment you retire. So her entire relationship with Lori, her mother, her friends will all be halted until she's finished working for the council. And who knows how long that could be. As she speaks to Marigold, who's a retired council worker, she was there for many years, and then she just gave it all up despite being one of their best. And so knowing that might be the fate that Ray has, it's really interesting to see her and Lori try to work out their relationship, because it seems like it might be futile in the end. Whereas Lori, again, wants to be a musician, so he would remember Ray, but Ray would have no way to contact him. They couldn't see each other for who knows how long. You find out at the finale. But just seeing that sort of like career clash and them working out their personal desires and what they would like, but also the fact that they would like to be with each other. Again, it was such a beautiful like reading of a very healthy dynamic, which is such a relief in the romance genre, of just two very functional adults recognizing their flaws and their strengths and being like, here's what I want in my life. Do you want to do this with me or not? And at the end, they decide, you know what? We'll see what happens when we get there. And like, that was so nice. I'm so tired of romances with all these cliffhangers like, I love you, John, but if you don't love me, I'll have to run away. And it's this whole cat and mouse scene. No. Crumbs doesn't bother with that. Crumbs said, listen, these are two adults who have ambitions independent of one another. However, when they are together, they are stronger. And that is the kind of romance I deserve and the kind of romance I will read. Thank you very much. To sum up my more fangirly thoughts about this webtoon, Crumbs is a shining example of how world building can really enhance your writing. The world building in Crumbs was not only simple enough for me to understand and complex enough for it to help assist the plot, but it had me engaged. When a conflict came up, my first thought was, how is Ray going to solve this? What is Lori going to do? How is magic going to come into play here? Like, these thoughts were consistent when I was reading, even though it was weekly episodes and I didn't fast pass till like the last months when I first started buying coins. I would be thinking about it. I'd be like, well, how are they going to discuss this? How are they going to get around this? How is the council going to interfere? That is a great world building. It doesn't put me in a situation where I'm so confused I have to browse the comments for hours to try and find an explanation. I know what's going on, but at the same time, the plot is in itself realistic, so I can focus on what the characters are doing. And instead of the magic system distracting them, it only enhances what they're going to come to their conclusions with and the problems they face. And I think that's awesome. That's great. I wish more webtoons and just more literature and more media in general took the time to make sure that their world building was 110%, because it makes everything so much better. I know sometimes it may seem like it's not worthwhile, but it's just, as a reader, there's nothing more satisfying than just like watching everything kind of wrap up nicely, and you're like, this was a full circle, and I enjoyed the entire ride. And I think that Crumbs, even though it was extremely short by Webtoon standards, it really showcased how you can make a lot work with very few tools. And I hope more people are able to read it and appreciate it, because it deserves all the recognition. And so that's my video about Crumbs. I need to go and cry into a pillow before my test. But thank you for watching. Have a great day. Take care of yourself and see you later.